Okay, my name is Vannoy Jones. I served in the Navy during World War II. I served from August of 1944 until June of 1947, and I was in the Navy Waves. That's Women's Auxiliary Voluntary Emergency Services. I took my training in Hunter College in New York City, the basic training. That's where everybody took it then. We had 8 weeks there. Then I was sent to further schooling in Milledgeville, Georgia, to storekeeper school. Now people say, what is a storekeeper? We keep records, we handle pay records, order supplies, all those things. After storekeeper school, I came back to Cleveland, Ohio, to the Bureau of Supplies and Accounts, which was one of the largest in the country. And I was there the rest of my enlistment. Now when we enlisted, we were told for the duration in 6 months. That was the duration of the war in 6 months. Well, they thought within 6 months after the duration, everything would be back to normal, but it wasn't. So they came around and asked for re-enlistment, and I did. I was teaching school. Wasn't real happy teaching school, and I wanted some adventure, I thought. I think the main thing was there was a feeling of patriotism there that I couldn't explain to you all, that has never happened again and probably never will happen again, because the women were asked to relieve a sailor for sea duty. That was one of the promotional things. Go and relieve him so he could go to sea, because we weren't allowed to fight then. We weren't allowed to go into any war zone. In fact, the only place outside of the continental United States we could go was to Hawaii. I made some of the best friends in my life there. I wasn't real popular with my family when I went in. They didn't want me to go. At that time, there was sort of a negative connotation, because they said, hey, the women are just going to find a man. Now that was what was said. Mm-hmm. I went, and I was very glad that I did. Made some very good friends. In fact, I just talked to a 60-year-old friend on the phone the other day. So, anything else you need to know?
You said that it was Women's Auxiliary for voluntary mm-hmm. service. Now, being voluntary, were you paid?
Oh, yes.
Paid,
mm-hmm.
even though it was voluntary.
In fact, we got all of, I believe, $50 a month to start out with. Mm-hmm. I believe that's what it was.
Now, did you receive any other military benefits, like the education part?
When, after we got out, we got what they call 5220. You got $20 a week for 52 weeks. You also had, you could go and get further schooling.
With the GI Bill?
Yes, with the GI Bill. We could have the GI Bill. But I came home and got married and started a family, and that was it.
Now, what was the greatest impact from your experience during
Spreading my, expanding my horizons. I had hardly been out. I had been out of West Virginia, I think, one time. You must remember, this wasn't a mobile society then.
Right.
And I went to Weston occasionally, and that's about as far as I got. And I can remember being so scared, they sent me a bus ticket to Parkersburg. Then I was to get on a train and go to Grand Central Station in New York. I'd never been on a train before, particularly a Pullman car. So when they started making up my bed that night, I didn't know what to think. Mm-hmm. And trying to get in there and undress and get your nightgown on in that little cramped space. And then all night I worried, what if nobody meets me in Grand Central Station? I'd heard about Grand Central Station. I knew this big place. And I thought, what if nobody meets me? But sure enough, somebody was there to meet me, because there were several on the train that I didn't know about. And the first thing they did was said, have you ever been in any chorus? Can you sing? And I had been in the chorus here in college. So they take you in a room, and somebody sits down at the piano and plays scales. And they said, yeah, you'll do. So I was put in what was called the singing platoon, which we got a little special treatment. Mm-hmm. And we marched up Fifth Avenue for a war bomb parade. I remember that, and that was exciting. We got to see all the first-run movies free. We had a lot of good things going for us.
Well, excellent
I had never been away from home for Christmas. In the singing platoon, we broadcast over a station in New York City one day, and it was in December sometime. The song we sang was I'll Be Home for Christmas. And I was staring there with tears running down my face, because I wasn't going to be there. Yeah. I was in Georgia for Christmas.
Now, during your tour of duty, did you get home anytime during that? Did you get any
Yes.
leave?
not many times,
Many.
but 2 or 3 times, because we didn't get a lot of money, and the schedule, bus and train schedule, wasn't that convenient then.
Had you heard any information that the war was going on before the U.S. was involved?
Yes, but I was like most kids nowadays. I was a college kid, and I'm sure people talked about it some, but we had no TV, and we didn't have a radio very often. So I heard these rumors that there was a bad man over there, wading through all the countries, and we knew about Hitler, but really didn't give it much thought because that was a world away.
Yeah.
We just didn't think about that. When Pearl Harbor came, it came as a big surprise to me. I don't know about
It
anybody
was a
else.
big surprise to a lot of people, I believe.
And I was teaching school, and I remember going back to my boarding house on that Sunday evening, and they told me we're at war. And from then on, I got to thinking, I want to go in the service. It was just a feeling of, I want to do something, whatever I can.
Now, did any other members of your family join?
I had a brother who was in the Navy, and then he came out of the Navy and went in the Seabees. There were very few women then. In fact, in Gilmer County, I think there was just a handful of women went. As I say, it wasn't a real popular thing to do then.
Do you remember anything about D-Day?
I was in Cleveland. The word came over the intercom, the war's over in Europe, and everybody went out into the streets, and if you look at the old life pictures, you know what happened. There was confetti flying from all the windows, and we didn't work anymore that day. Everybody just went, had a good time. Yeah.
Now, after the war, how much longer did you stay in the military?
I stayed in another year and a half. And as I say, they thought they could get everything back to order in 6 months, but it just was impossible because there were records and, many, many things that had to be taken care of. It's something I've always been glad I did. I made friends and got to go places and see people and things that I never would have done.
And you said that the women weren't allowed out of the continental U.S.
Not out of the continental. You could be stationed in Hawaii then.
Okay.
Of course, Hawaii wasn't one of our states then, but that was too far from home. I knew I'd never get home.
Do you feel that even though women were allowed to join in services, that they were given special treatment because of their gender?
No. And I would, any woman who was interested in going in the service today, I would say go. Because it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I probably would never have gotten out of West Virginia had I not joined the service, and I got to travel. I got traveling in my blood, and since then I've been to all over the world, traveled all over the world.
Can't think of anything else.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I can't think of anything. Just glad I got to do this.